joined this morning by Michael Geist. He's the Canada Research Chair in Internet and E-commerce at the University of Ottawa. Welcome.
Good morning.
We don't know a lot of details yet about this proposal. We'll learn more today. It has been reported that the digital regulator will be put in place. This will be created to establish some kind of safety standards. First of all, what could that look like?
Well, they're talking about a digital safety commission, and they envisioned that in the prior bill. I think we'll have something similar now, and they're likely to have pretty significant powers when it comes to regulating social media companies, potentially AI chatbots as well, because they're expanding the scope of what they previously put into place. There'll probably be some sort of complaints mechanism where people can raise concerns. So it's going to be a pretty powerful agency, somewhat similar, I suppose, to say the way the privacy commissioner might deal with various privacy issues.
You and several other digital experts have already said you're skeptical of a blanket ban, but here's what those who would be affected have to say.
If you post a video or something like that and people put comments, it can boost your confidence.
If you do ban it, I feel like they definitely find much more unsafe ways to get around it.
Okay, so do you agree? Why do you think this is not the right approach?
I think there's a few reasons why, and I think that last comment highlights at least one of them. It hasn't proven effective. We've seen it in Australia for about half a year now. The data suggests that the majority of kids are still on social media and that many of them either try to circumvent or gravitate to less safe places. In fact, we're seeing that parents themselves are pretty unhappy with it, both because they now are worried about their kids going to some of those unsafe places, and they've lost the say and control over what their kids do. But beyond even the ineffectiveness, it's how the impact spreads across to everyone. Because if you're going to say it's a ban for 16 and under or under 16s, what you're left with is saying that everybody has to prove their age. We're talking about tens of millions of Canadians having to provide some sort of ID or undergo some sort of age verification check in order to upload a picture to Facebook or a video to Instagram.
You know, I remember when social media apps and my kids were first starting to use them and everything came out. And I remember thinking, it's almost like getting a driver's license. If you say you can't have it till you're 16 and then you suddenly hand them the keys, we don't do that with driving. And I don't think we should do that with social media either. Some of the research you were talking about from Australia shows that only 1 in 4 teens, ages 14 and 15, are actually even complying with this ban. We know that teens use fake VPNs, they borrow accounts, they put in fake birthdays. And apps like Snapchat are their main form of communication. They will find loopholes. What's the danger in the loopholes?
Well, they're part of the danger in the loophole is the fact, of course, that they'll go oftentimes to less safe places, right? So what we see happening is that whatever you think of a Snapchat or an Instagram, there are real issues there, but there are also public safety teams there. There are efforts to address some of these issues. There are spaces that don't have any of that, and kids are going to find ways to communicate, to engage, whether or not you put this in place. And so there are risks that they go to places that sort of sit outside of some of the ban or simply just don't care about trying to comply. And then when you loop in everybody else, and the privacy risks here are significant because uploading ID likely to a non-Canadian based service that isn't going to be subject to Canadian privacy law. We've seen security breaches in the past. Suddenly now we're talking about everybody facing risks as part of a system that doesn't really work as intended anyway.
Well, accountability is one of the strongest criticisms of a ban. And once again, it punishes or puts the onus and accountability on teens, and it lets tech giants off the hook. What can be done to hold tech giants accountable and address the root causes of the problems that are the ripple effect from too much social media?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We ought to be regulating platforms, not people. And, you know, the truth is, of course, that nobody once they turn 17, suddenly social media is safe. There are real issues there around privacy, around how the algorithms function. And so what we need are the broad-based regulations that try to do that. I'm hoping that we see in the law a duty to act responsibly alongside the regulator that we talked about a moment ago that will allow for some of those kinds of conditions, putting pressure back on these companies to make sure that they're designed well, that they respect privacy, that there are real penalties when they fail to do so. And this additional Band-Aid that's, I think, going to be one of the major distractions here about saying we're just going to target this one group. It's going to take years to get up and underway. And it's just far better to ensure that this is a safe environment for all.
Michael Geist is the Canada Research Chair in Internet and E-commerce at the University of Ottawa. Great to have your perspective, and we'll learn more about this plan later today. Thanks.